This is my story, your story, our story. My name is Chanel, and I'm the oldest Chinese-Vietnamese second-generation Canadian in my family. What does it mean to be Canadian? I like to watch superhero movies, being in the outdoors, and I love to volunteer in the community. I can afford to attend university. I speak English with no accents. I can read and write the language comfortably. I have an abundance of luxuries, more than enough food to eat, a roof over my head, heat in the house, love from my family and friends, and access to a plethora of services, including free healthcare, public education, a robust transit system, and more. However, like 47% of the population, being Canadian is only half of my identity. For most of my life, the ethnic culture of my parents and hardships experienced by them were unknown to me. I never asked about it because I was embarrassed. As a kid, we wanted nothing to do with our parents who couldn't speak proper English. We're Canadians now. We have to live the Canadian way. I did as much as I could to be ignorant towards my own culture. I despised going to Buddhist temples and dreaded weekly Chinese schools. Don't worry, Mom, I'm not going to be a doctor, but I'm going to do what I love. Don't worry, Dad, I'm going to make enough money to live comfortably. Don't worry, I'm going to make you proud, I would reassure them. I didn't understand why my parents told me how lucky I was, and why there was so much pressure to do well academically. They were generic, strict Asian parents to me. I've discovered that that's not how it was in Saigon, Vietnam. My mom is the fourth oldest of 9 children. Life was much simpler back then, she said. Many of her siblings barely reached high school, and it was acceptable, as help was needed at home with my grandpa's paint business, or odd jobs needed to be taken to keep the family financially stable. My dad remembers going to school and living quite freely as a child. He was the second youngest of 5 children. Each day, there would just be enough money for the whole family to share one bowl of noodle for breakfast. 1975 was the fall of Saigon. Vietnam was in political turmoil, and the safety of families were threatened. A more promising life took place overseas. It was a risky and dangerous process, but they and their families managed to arrive safely in Canada in the 1980s. There were many firsts for them. First time sitting on a plane and in a car. First time seeing broccoli and tasting hamburgers. My dad, especially, was not fond of pickles. I asked them if they missed home. They said they didn't because all their family was here and were convinced that they were going to live a better life. They were right, because my sister, brother, and I are here now, happy and healthy in Renfrew, Collingwood. There is a large intergenerational and intercultural gap, which has served as one of the obstacles in building relationships, but at the same time, it's exciting because there's so much to learn from each other. I understand now why my parents remind us constantly of how fortunate we are. I realized all these things we are living through are things that my parents never had and worked hard for us to have these luxuries to appreciate. My parents have come such a long way from having very little to being able to support 3 healthy, happy, successful children in Canada. My name is Chanel, and I'm the oldest second-generation Canadian in my family. I'm proud to have a rich Chinese-Vietnamese culture that makes up who I am. I want nothing more but to embrace it and cherish it for the rest of my life, and to pass on for future generations.